Looking for your next favorite book? Or maybe your next ghost story? From the Ground Up Books isn't just a bookstore, it's an experience. With two unique locations in LaGrange and Shepherdsville, we're proud to be a local hub for readers, writers, and lovers of the unusual. Our LaGrange store is tucked inside the historic Ballard House, built in 1840, and yes, it's haunted. Join us for book signings, author events, and ghost hunts through this legendary Kentucky landmark. Or stop by our Shepherdsville store, nestled along the Bourbon Trail, for small-town charm, indie reads, and a few spirited surprises of its own. So if you love books, community, and just the right amount of weird, come visit us in person or explore online at FromTheGroundUpBooks.com. From the Ground Up Books. Read local, feel the history, keep it weird, y'all.
Feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or energetically off balance? It might be time to reconnect with yourself. At Mystic Bliss Reiki, we offer heart-centered healing using Usui Holy Fire and Karuna Reiki to help you release stress, clear energetic blockages, and awaken your inner peace. Whether you're seeking personal transformation, looking to heal from past emotional wounds, or curious about your soul's journey through past life regression, Mystic Bliss Reiki is your sacred space for spiritual renewal. We also offer certified Reiki training so you can not only receive healing, but also become a healer. Sessions are available in person or online, so wherever you are, your healing can begin. Are you ready to feel lighter, clearer, and more aligned? Visit mysticblissreiki.com and book your session today. Where energy flows, healing begins.
Hello and welcome to Weirdos in the Wild with our co-hosts, AJ Oxley, paranormal investigator with Beyond This Life Paranormal and multi-generational paranormal enthusiast, and Lynn Tincher, Beyond This Life paranormal investigator, Reiki master, published author, and near-death experiencer. Travel with them, a couple of everyday weirdos on a wild ride to all things paranormal and metaphysical.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Lynn's favorite show, Weirdos in the Wild. My name's AJ.
And I'm Lynn.
And we just have to mix it up a little bit today. A couple weeks ago, or a couple of episodes ago, I should say, we did some stuff about history. And that came from our expert that does all of the stuff behind the scenes for us, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Jesse, we are going to continue doing some history stuff for you today.
Yeah, might as well make it enjoyable for him while he's listening to all this to edit, right?
That's right. So, Lynn and I thought the first thing we talked about was the White House, ghosts in the White House. So we were like, what else can we do? We thought about, how about ghosts on ships, because there are some famous ships that are haunted, and a lot of warships is what I found, but we're going to find out what Lynn found out, because we don't talk before we do this. So
we probably have all the same stuff, but
we probably do, who knows, but we'll see. But we're going to talk about some famous ships that are haunted, and we go down this rabbit hole. I went down a rabbit hole. I don't know what rabbit hole you went down, but it's really weird that I found out that it's almost all the same in all these ships. It's really weird where this energy comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Kick us off, Lynn. See what you found out first.
Well, the first one I found out about was the USS Salem.
I did see this one. I found this one too.
Out of Quincy, Massachusetts. Actually in Des Moines. So I don't know. This one's kind of weird, but anyway, it's a class heavy cruiser commissioned in May of 1949 and served mainly with the 6th Fleet of the Mediterranean during the Cold War era.
Mm-hmm.
Error. I guess it depends on your point of view.
I guess it depends on if you're from Kentucky or not.
Right. So the major historical bit about for this haunting is from 1953, where this was an onboard medical spaces were used during the Ionian Islands earthquake relief response.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this ship, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this ship has never really seen battle or anything, but it did was pivotal in the relief response. And multiple sources later reports that ghosts of people that were treated from the wounds um, show up on the ship now. They hear disembodied voices, footsteps. They feel like they're being followed. They can smell smoke or medical chemical smells that turn up in spaces where you shouldn't smell this stuff. And then there's also a recurring legend described as the Burning Man, which was a badly burned apparition that is connected to the burn victims that were treated on the ship in 1953. Um, but that's what this ship is remembered for, was for going to I guess come in from the water to help aid in the rescue and treatment of these people that were affected by that earthquake.
Yeah, I did find this one too, and you're right. It said that the ship had never fired its guns in anger. Um, it had. It, I did find very similar uh, things that you found here. I heard, they talked about cold spots and like people feel cold drafts as if somebody ran past them. Doors slamming shut. You talked about how they aided people that were part of that earthquake that was in 1953. Um, and I'm sure you probably found this too, that a lot of the activity happens around that sick bay area where they were
Hmm.
helping those folks. Um, they said that they saw full body apparitions in the sick bay, and people have said that they have also seen shadow figures there, and they've seen ghosts of what they describe as people that were dressed as sailors, but also like what they would have said people were dressed like civilians,
Mm.
which makes sense if they were the
Hmm.
people that were there as part of the earthquake recovery.
Right.
Um, they have said that this is, and I found this a lot of these that a lot of these ships have been investigated by paranormal investigators, and um, they have found EVPs in English and in non-English languages, which also, goes to where the people were there being treated for the earthquake as well.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I found here, but also in other ones, and things that we have experienced, on some of our ghost hunts, is malfunction of the electronic devices that the ghost hunters or paranormal investigators are using.
Wow. I'd missed that part.
Yeah, so I was like, been there, done that.
Yeah. So is it like the batteries
Like
dying?
the batteries dying,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, we've been there, where you've like, oh, did you catch that on the recording? And somehow the recording's not working,
Yeah.
so they've said that they've had weird things happen to their electronic equipment as well while they were hunting on this ship. So
Wow.
yeah.
And trust me, folks, it does happen. We can go in with brand new batteries that we just put in something and just get started, and the batteries are dead.
Right. They can
Or
be they can be your a Duracell battery. They can be where
your
we've
cell
plugged
phone.
your cell phone, an iPad. It happens.
It happens. So, and it happens all the time. It's not like,
Hmm.
oh, this happened on one ghost hunt. So, yeah, maybe it happens pretty much on every single ghost hunt we've been on.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
there's something to that, that
Yep.
when you're in a high active area, they can suck up the energy, that's for sure.
Yep. All right. What else you got?
So, the USS Hornet,
Mm-hmm.
Alameda, California.
Yep, it's a very famous one that's haunted.
Yep. And it was a World War II carrier. Have you ever been on a carrier?
I have not. I have not actually been on one. I've been near. I don't remember which one is in New York City. That's the one I've been near.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I've never actually been on one. No.
I went toured the one that whatever the movie was with John Wayne. It was filmed on that. It was at port at Fort Sumter, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Um, and it's like a city. I mean, this sucker's huge and it's like a city. But anyway, so I could see where there's a lot of room for things to happen on these things.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but anyway, the USS Hornet was also part of the Cold War and multiple Pacific operations. It was part of the Vietnam era and space program recoveries. So I'm guessing, whenever they
Yes,
would parachute back. Yep.
yep. They recovered the Apollo astronauts in
Hmm.
July of 1969, and they were brought aboard the Hornet. Yep.
So this puppy has seen a lot of action. They say that the paranormal reputation of this thing is very strong, that the museum itself runs after hours and overnight programs framed around the high activity areas. So um, basically, they host ghost hunts on their ship. They say that the hot spots are like the sick bay medical spaces, which makes sense. They can hear voices, see shadow figures of someone working when nobody's there. Um, there's also some activity on the lower decks where the engine and berthing areas are with heavy footsteps, doors and fixtures moving, feeling being watched. The ship also draws in several paranormal visitors because you can spend the night on board and investigate deep down in the compartments of the ship. Says this is just kind of what they do there. And I've always wanted to investigate a ship. We've talked about this before.
Yeah. It's going to have to be on our list soon. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I found a lot about it. One of the things that I found out interesting was, it was in World War II in 1944, 1945. And actually, what put it out of the war was a typhoon.
Hmm.
It was hit by a typhoon and had to be repaired, and then by the time it was repaired, the war was over. But as you said, it was in Vietnam and did other things for our country. Yeah, but I kind of found some of the same things you did. One of the things that I really found interesting was it seems like the people that give the tours there are also investigating themselves. The people that work there, they have really just bought in, accepted what is going on that ship, and they know what's going on, I should
Yeah.
say. Um, I watched a video where they were doing the flashlight test. In every Lynn and I, we've done the flashlight test, and if you don't know, you take one of those small, what's the brand?
It's an incandescent, right?
Yeah, right. So
I can't
you
remember the brand. It's like Coleman or something. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
so the end of it, and you twist it, and that's how the end of the flashlight, you twist it instead of having a button on it, flip it on, and you twist it so it's just barely where it goes off and on. You turn it off, and whatever reason, the phenomenon that happens is that the flashlight will turn off and turn on. We've had responses that way or to questions, and I know people had think sometimes it's not true, but we've had it happen several
Mhm.
times. So
On cue. So
on cue. But that's one of
I,
the things that I watched their tour guides do. And they kind of leave them around just to see if it'll come on or not. Um, People have been touched, people have been shoved. Um, One of the places that I found on this ship was the admiral's quarters that seems to be a hot spot. And they were talking about on this video was they were in the admiral's conference room and they were doing that flashlight test. And also one of the guides who had done and she was leading a group, and she was actually had her recorder going just to see if she would catch anything. And she asked out loud, "Is it okay if we go into your room," which was the admiral's quarters, his bedroom? She goes back later and she catches an EVP that just says no.
Oh, wow.
So, they like then watching them, they, like I said, they've, bought into it. And I love their theory you know, that not only persons that were killed on that ship, but they knew there were 300 or more people that have died on that ship. But their thought is that people that had passed that came back to that ship because that ship meant so much to them in their lives.
Hmm. Yeah, we've talked about that before.
Hmm.
I know you've talked about John. My brother John would say that spirits would come back to places that meant the most to them, or some
Hmm.
place that they were happy, or, of course you get the ones that are stuck in the places where something really bad happened to them. But for the most part, he thinks that, the spirits just like to be where they were the happiest.
Yeah. Yeah. And they talk about shadows that have been seen, voices. Again, the sick bay. People hear whispers in there. And I thought this was kind of interesting. They hear the beds creak as if there's somebody laying in the bed in sick bay.
Wow. That made me think of like what sounded like when we were in the prison. Sounded like handcuffs on a bed rail or something in the infirmary
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, I thought that one was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely sounds like this place is haunted. And one other thing, there was also a story, I almost forgot this one, that they see sailors that disappear. Like they'll people have seen them and they'll like turn and they look like they're going into a room or a corridor. And when they get down there, there's just like a shut door or a wall where the apparition has gone into the door or the wall. So
I want to see that.
I've seen it.
Yep. I want to see it again.
All right, what else you got?
All right. And then I just realized when I looked at my notes on this one that this is the aircraft carrier that I was on.
Oh, there you
So,
go.
here we go with the USS Yorktown.
Oh yeah, I knew you were going to go to the Yorktown.
Yep. That's like one of the most famous ones. That's the one that
Yep.
Yorktown was filmed on. Imagine that.
Hmm.
So it was a CV-10, and it's now parked at Patriots Point, South Carolina, which is at Fort Sumter, or at least that area. And
There's
it,
something about aircraft carriers.
yeah, I guess because there was probably, so many people on them. I
Yeah.
mean, it was like a small city.
Hmm.
Um, this puppy was modernized in the 1950s for jets, later redesigned as anti-submarine carrier CVS, earned 5 battle stars for Vietnam service from 1965 to 1968, and recovered Apollo 8 in December of 1968.
Hmm.
Decommissioned in 1970 and towed to Patriots Point in 1975 as the museum centerpiece. They also have a submarine, which I've not been on. I recommend going. It's pretty amazing places to tour. Of course, I didn't have anything that happened there, but I did get to sit in the chair that John Wayne sat in. I do remember that. But nothing paranormal happened while we were there. Reported hauntings. It has a long-running reputation for whispers and voices, footsteps in empty corridors, shadows and mist-like figures, and occasional claims of full body apparitions that resemble the sailors and crew. And they actively offer ghost tours, so you can talk about the folklore around the boat, or I guess it's the ship, and hopefully have a paranormal experience. But I do remember, come to think of it, I do remember them talking to me about some of the paranormal stuff when we were on the tour.
Hmm.
But nothing happened when we were there. I mean, it's been over 30 years since I went, so My memory's only about a minute long anymore anyway.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. That's about it for that one. Do you have anything else on the USS Yorktown?
Yeah, this one's kind of famous. It was on the show Ghost Hunters with the Taps folks. They were there. So this one is kind of famous. Um, I did find a couple of instances of, reports people had made. There's been more than one person report that they've seen a officer or a gentleman dressed as an officer on the flight deck several times. Um, of course, the sick bay and the engine room are hot spots. Again, it just seems like those two spots are hot spots that get reported on a lot of these ships.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things they say happens in the engine bay is, and people will be, and still to this day, people will be working in the ship, is they will lay a tool down and they'll turn around and it's gone. And then sometime later, it'll show up somewhere else. So somebody's playing around with them, having a little fun with them as well.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and like you said, there are, you know, people have seen sailors in what they describe as World War II type of uniforms. Um, a couple of things, though, there was an interesting picture I came across where somebody was standing on the flight deck and took a picture up of the superstructure where the bridge is, and I think everybody can kind of picture that what that looks like on a an aircraft carrier, and it it looked like somebody was standing there in the bridge.
Mm.
It was a very interesting picture. Also, there I found a very interesting account. It was from a Boy Scout troop that had spent the night on the ship, and this was in 1987. And this was reported by more than one of these this group. Um, they started seeing red flashing lights in a section of the ship that had basically no power to it. And they also then described seeing a sailor in that same part of the ship. So interesting occurrence on that. But that ship is also one of the more famous ones that is haunted. Got another aircraft carrier,
Okay.
the USS Lexington.
Uh-huh. I had that one too.
Yeah, I
This
don't
is
know
a-
what it is. I don't know what it is about aircraft carriers, but of course, it was a World War II era aircraft carrier as well. Why I remembered that one right off because it has a very similar claim of flashing lights in areas of the ship that no longer has any power to it. There have been disembodied voices. People feel cold spots. Also, in areas of the ships where there's like completely been sealed off, people have been touched and pushed in the engine room. Again, the engine room. I don't know what that is about. And there have been reports of people hearing whispers in the engine room, and even reports of people saying somebody calling out for help in the engine room.
Did you see about the apparition that's there?
Charlie?
Yes. Charlie.
Tell them about Charlie.
Um, he uh he shows up.
Yeah,
He's around he's
shows
in
up
the
a
hut.
lot according to what I found.
Yeah, and he likes to be in the engine room or near the engine room. He's described as a sailor, but he's an apparition that he you are I think when he's around you can hear chains dragging, elevator moving sounds, running footsteps on the lower decks. The see shadows and I don't know, Charlie's just he makes himself known evidently.
Yeah, and that's the curators of the museum now and the guides and such are the ones that have given him the name Charlie because he's been spotted so often.
Hmm.
Yeah.
He likes to be known.
Mm-hmm. What else did you find out about the Lexington?
That it was an Essex class, like you said, in World War II, one well-documented casualty point. That's often talked about is the fact that it was hit by a kamikaze. in 1944, which killed and wounded several people. So,
Mm.
and then later it served as a training carrier and was decommissioned in 1991.
Mm.
It has one of the longest post-war services, basically. It was in service longest. That's kind of an interesting thing about the being hit by a kamikaze, because
Yeah.
that makes it pretty unique.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I got a couple different other types of ships too, if you want to talk about those.
Go for it.
I came across the USS Wisconsin, which is a battleship. The Wisconsin served in World War II, Korea, and it even came out of retirement for a little while and served in the Gulf War. It was kind of the same thing. People hear boots in the corridors. There was a tragic event where a sailor was actually crushed from the turrets of the giant guns that are on the ship.
Hmm.
And people report that they still hear screams from that area of the ship, from that sailor. They hear knocking from inside sealed compartments, shadows in the engine room. I don't know. Again, the engine room shows up.
Maybe it's because there's so much energy in there.
I don't, we'll talk about I kind of got some theories. So obviously, there's lots of energy on these ships. The mess hall. This is the only one I found anything in the mess hall, but people say there are cold spots again, like chills and like where it feels like somebody rushed past them, like a cold breeze passes them. Which that actually kind of makes sense to me. That would be a portion of the ship that would have lots of activity as well.
Hmm.
And the communication room showed up in this, and I found another one I will talk about here too. But radio/communication room, people hear voices and whispers in the communication room.
Hmm. That almost makes you think it's residual.
Uh-huh, definitely. And a couple of the things I did read and see that they talk about where it's residual hauntings, and I think there was the Yorktown where the gentleman said, "Hey, we think we have residual haunts where we'll see like a person that is, you know, they'll come out of one section or one room or corridor or whatever and just go down the hall and then back into another, so yeah, and of course the residual is they do the same thing over and over and over again like a broken record, and there's nothing intelligent about it. It's just like that energy's burned there for whatever reason. Yeah, but that's what I had about the Wisconsin. I also found another one that was a destroyer, the USS Slater, and it was a World War II destroyer and escort ship, and it was in the Atlantic. And one of the things it did was escort the Liberty ships back and forth from the United States and Europe. Again, people feel cold spots there, footsteps, tool sounds in the engine room. You brought that up earlier.
Welcome back to Weirdos in the Wild. Before we return to our program, AJ and I would like to take a moment to remember my brother John Tincher, co-founder of Beyond This Life Paranormal, and Alan Oxley, AJ's father. Both passed away just before we recorded our first episode. Each and every episode going forward, from this one on, will be in remembrance of them. Thank you. Feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or energetically off balance? It might be time to reconnect with yourself. At Mystic Bliss Reiki, we offer heart-centered healing using Usui Holy Fire and Karuna Reiki to help you release stress, clear energetic blockages, and awaken your inner peace. Whether you're seeking personal transformation, looking to heal from past emotional wounds, or curious about your soul's journey through past life regression, Mystic Bliss Reiki is your sacred space for spiritual renewal. We also offer certified Reiki training so you can not only receive healing, but also become a healer. Sessions are available in person or online, so wherever you are, your healing can begin. Are you ready to feel lighter, clearer, and more aligned? Visit mysticblissreiki.com and book your session today. Where energy flows, healing begins.
Looking for your next favorite book? Or maybe your next ghost story. From the Ground Up Books isn't just a bookstore, it's an experience. With 2 unique locations in LaGrange and Shepherdsville, we're proud to be a local hub for readers, writers, and lovers of the unusual. Our LaGrange store is tucked inside the historic Ballard House, built in 1840, and yes, it's haunted. Join us for book signings, author events, and ghost hunts through this legendary Kentucky landmark. Or stop by our Shepherdsville store, nestled along the Bourbon Trail, for small-town charm, indie reads, and a few spirited surprises of its own. So if you love books, community, and just the right amount of weird, come visit us in person or explore online at FromTheGroundUpBooks.com. From the Ground Up Books. Read local, feel the history, keep it weird, y'all.
This is the other one where people hear whispers in the control rooms and the radio rooms. And in fact, they have heard names called out here. And some of the investigators have actually taken some of those names that they've caught and they have found those on the ship's manifest, which I
Oh,
found to be
wow.
just fascinating.
Yeah, I love it when you can prove something.
Yeah. So that is very cool to me, like, hey, is it something residual or is it something that's intelligent? Like they're still calling on a particular sailor or officer. That I thought was cool. They still see the guides have reported seeing sailors that vanish into locked compartment doors here. This one has been investigated as well by paranormal investigators. This is one of the places where they have had their electronics fail. They have caught EVPs there. Some of the EVPs they've caught are crying, whispers, some heavy breathing. And the other thing that I thought that they really caught was really cool is they've caught what they described as Morse code signals, like the beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
Yep, which I thought was really cool too, to tie it right back to a war vessel.
Yeah. So I wonder if they were able to decode it.
I don't know. I didn't find that part out, but I thought that was pretty cool too. So
Yeah.
I have found a couple other ships that are not warships. If you want to talk about that too.
Well, do you want me to finish up with one more warship first before
Yeah.
we? Because
Yeah.
that's the last one on my list of things that I found.
Okay.
Is the USS North Carolina,
Oh, okay.
Huntington, North Carolina. Was a World War II battleship that was heavily decorated, very much heavily decorated, 15 battle stars. It is now a memorial museum, which opened in the early 1960s, but it's a little bit different because they do something that's not quite a tour, but they tell the story of everything as the tour goes on for the whole ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they don't open it up for paranormal investigations or anything like that, but the stories do get told during the tour. But the most common claimed thing that has happened, and I guess it's probably happened to several people, is that there is a young blonde sailor apparition that walks the passageways and goes to the bathroom. He's just seen kind of in that general area between the washrooms and the bathrooms and the hallways there. So I'm kind of afraid something might have happened to him there. That was the one battleship that I managed to find. So that was the North Carolina. But I wonder.
That's kind of.
Go ahead.
How would you like to? That would be your residual haunting for the rest of your life, as you're just going to the bathroom.
We talked about that at the prison. I remember that.
I'm sorry, that's probably wrong to say, but it just kind of struck me odd that, if he just keeps going to the bathroom. Sorry.
Oh, goodness. All right.
Sorry.
Well, we got to have a little fun. So, what else? What other boats did you find?
All right. So there is these two. I'm just going to put out there, and we'll put them out there for what it's worth. So the USS Nightmare it's actually in Newport, Kentucky. They use it as a haunted house in that Halloween time.
Uh-huh.
But it's actually from a very old dredge called the William S. Mitchell. And it was used on the Ohio River as a dredge. Um, if you're familiar with Newport, there's some stuff that's like right on the river there, and it's docked there. And from what I could tell, it must still be there. I couldn't really tell a whole lot, but it got to be known as the Death Dredge because there was some bad stuff happened and some people were killed on it during while it was time for a dredge. But there is a really strange, what do you want to call it, story or legend tale about it, that the captain's son was a disfigured child that the captain raised on the dredge, but basically kept him below deck in isolation.
Mm.
Yeah. So the story is that even though I know it's a haunted house type of place now, is that people hear screams, chains dragging, like this shadowy, monstrous figure creeping along the hallways of it. Um, and then people have also said that they've felt like they've been touched and like had fingers drugged down their bodies, their arms, their legs, their face. So I thought that one was kind of weird. And since it's a Kentucky thing, I thought we would add that one in there.
Yeah. The fingers, like, not
Like,
just touch, but like,
like they've been like pull like they described it like it was it's not like a touch, like but they like some like when somebody would touch your arm and drag their fingers down your arm.
yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
would
that
freak
was
me out for sure.
yeah. Yeah, that one is creepy. There's also another one they call the USS Duluth, but the actual name of the ship is the William A. Irving. And it is in Duluth, Minnesota. And it was what was called a Laker, which is a ship that was just kept on the Great Lakes. And it was one of these iron ore ships that were on the Great Lake that basically, it would move iron ore and the products that were used to make steel and iron from one port to another in the Great Lakes. It is used again at one point in time of the year as a haunted house, but there are lots of paranormal questions about it, including it's been investigated by paranormal teams as well. There is again the footsteps, the cold spots, but there is also a full body apparition that is seen that a lot of people have believed at first was a when they saw this was a real person, and that people have had the claims are that it's walking down the corridors, specifically outside of the ship. It's like people have seen it, thought it was a person, and as they have turned to go toward it, then it just disappears.
Hmm.
Some of the things that some of the paranormal investigators have found on this ship is they've caught whispers on recordings, EMF spikes. They've even caught some strange images on thermal cameras. So just a little bit different. The last one. The
Last but
last
not least.
the last one I found at least. The last one is USS Skamen, Sachem ruins. Which if you're from Kentucky, you might know this because it's been called the ghost ship.
There you
Um,
go. I've heard of that one.
Yep. It is in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. It sits on a creek that leads into the Ohio River called Taylor Creek. It's kind of a local legend in Kentucky kind of thing. People go there, they kayak there, they go to urban investigate there, that kind of stuff. It's actually a World War One and World War Two vessel. It was actually used by Thomas Edison for secret experiments. People have claimed that they have seen ghosts walking on the deck of it, strange lights, footsteps, drained batteries, again, while people have investigated it. And being on it, there's people have said they just have this sense or feeling of dread while being on the ship. Now, looked it up. There's some pictures of it online. This thing is rusting away to where it's like nothingness at this point. One of the other claims is that people say that these experiments that Thomas Jefferson did, which I could never really kind of get to maybe what that was that they think he was doing on the ship. Some people believe that he may have opened up some sort of interdimension portal. Other people describe it as a hole.
Hmm.
Um, but they also say that that's maybe something and why that there's weird things that happen on this ship. The funny part is I also had to look up how did this ship end up in this creek? And when I say creek, it's not a big creek. I saw the pictures, but it was purchased by a gentleman named Robert Miller in 1986. His idea was to take the ship, restore it, but it all failed because he never had enough money to do it. So it's basically set there left to just, decay where it sits. And that's been there since 1986. One of the funny things about that, it was in a 1986 Madonna video of Papa Don't Preach.
Oh, wow, really?
That was kind of funny as well. So
There's another one that's not far from Owensboro on the Ohio.
yes, um
What's the name of it? Oh. Anyway, that might be one we can get on.
it is in Evansville.
Yeah.
It is a landing craft. Let me see, the LST 325. Is that the right one? Is that the one just found? Yes,
The
that's it.
landing craft, which was, there's another whole story around that. That's why I know about this, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that's it. I found it, and because you and I, our brains work alike, I looked that up the other day.
Yeah.
I looked it up to see if we could get on it. Hey, so if anybody from that LST 325 commemorative ship that is in Evansville, Indiana, and you are listening to us, reach
Get us
out.
on board. But I have a story about this, which is kind of
Uh,
paranormal. And
I
I'm
know you do, and I wasn't going to ask you, but since you're going to
going
volunteer.
to volunteer it because, I'm weird like that. One of those times, when you're just waking up and you're kind of in between the waking and sleep part, I was dreaming that I was talking to my grandfather. And my grandfather was part of World War II, and I never knew what he did. I knew he was in the army, but I never knew what he did. And I've always wanted to know, but he never really talked about it. The family never really talked about it, and most of my family's gone at this point. But in this dream, my grandfather was telling me he was on a ship and was showing me like a battleship. So I started asking some of the other family, and they're like, well, no, he never left Fort Knox. He was stationed in Fort Knox. And he never, never was out on the water. Didn't see combat or anything. So basically, he didn't really have much to talk about during World War II to, really tell the family, I guess. So I started looking into that a little bit more, and what they did at Fort Knox during that time was build that ship, the very one that's in Evansville on the Ohio. So he was showing me what he did on this ship in my dream. And I think I was really conversing with him somehow for him to tell me what he did during his service because I had never asked and he had never told me. But I had always been curious. So when I looked it up about the ship, that's the only place they were ever made was at Fort Knox. And the only time that it was ever made was while my grandfather was there. And that was the only thing that they did. So I know for a fact he was on these ships as they built them there, and they actually trained soldiers there about these ships. But the ships are the ones that, like in the Battle of Normandy, you see them roll up on the beach and the tanks roll out
Mhm.
off the ship. That's what the ship is. So
Yep.
that's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
I
But
don't
you
know if I
also,
told I
oh,
don't
go
know if
ahead.
I've ever told you this. That I had a great uncle that's what he did. He drove those landing crafts, but he did it in the in the Pacific Theater.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
So we're kind of connected that way. That's cool.
Yeah, I actually have some um somewhere. I have to go dig it up, but I have some Japanese money that he wrote that he had got and he wrote on it when he got it and where he got it in the Pacific.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool history to have.
Yeah. Yep. So,
Oh, all this looking at ships got me down another rabbit hole.
okay.
But, you know, because you're talking about paranormal activity being tied around something traumatic or whatever a lot, but I'm like, well, it seems like there's a lot that goes on ships, just in general, even private, boats and stuff. I remember my brother going to investigate a private yacht for somebody once because there's always seems to be somebody having something going on a boat. So I started wondering because I've always heard water helps as a conduit for um,
Energy.
ghosts- yeah, for energy that ghosts tend to congregate
Mhm.
around water and streams and like the waterbed going through LaGrange through the limestone. All of that is supposed to be kind of a boon for them, I guess. So I started doing a little bit of research about that, but uh, water generally is considered kind of a liminal space. Like it's the boundary between worlds. It's what transitions between life and death. If you think about it, you're in water and then you're born and in these cases on these ships, even pirate ships or whatever, if you died at sea, you got thrown overboard.
Right.
Um, it also represents spirits traveling, cleansing or purgatory, and portals or thresholds. So when you put tragedy on top of all that, stuff seems to stick around. Uh,
Hmm.
that kind of is a hot, perfect soup, so to speak, to have some paranormal activity. So I was kind of looking at that and just, military ships in particular, they have a lot of accidents, not just in battle, but they have a lot of accidents, like the guy getting crushed with the
In the
gunwale.
turret. Hmm.
They have fires and explosions and just medical emergencies. If you're having a heart attack or something and they can't help you there, you don't have any alternative. You're kind of stuck at sea.
Hmm.
Then all the burials at sea and the ship sinking and people are out there on long deployments, or stressed, fatigued, sick, whatever, because being at sea for a long time is not necessarily good for you. So there's a lot of trauma, a lot of mental stuff that's happening on the water or close to the water or in the water. Um, and so I can see if something happens that something might get drawn to the ship, you know. Um, and then just the fact that being on the water is spooky. It gives you a spooky feel because you've got that slight movement. There's always a breeze, or not always, but usually a breeze. The ships make weird noises as they, get tossed to and fro, and
Hmm.
so all that can kind of add to the whole experience. Stuff bangs and when it gets, swinging or knocked around or whatever. So all that could lead to people thinking that maybe all this stuff is happening. But when you're actually on a tour on a boat that's parked at a port and something happens, you kind of take that out of the equation.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's just kind of the little bit of the trail I went down was wondering if water had anything to do with it, just like when we were talking about cold spots. And then I found out that static electricity and dry air do have an effect on increased paranormal activity, which I know we talked about that a little bit. So, it's kind of cool to when you can start putting some of the environmental factors in and, maybe throw a little science at it that way, which is why we
Hmm.
have physicist Becca on board
That's
with
right.
investigations to kind of help us with that stuff. So anyway, that was my little tangent.
Yeah, and I'm glad you talked about because I did want to talk about it too because when I was looking at this, it was really interesting because the engine room kept coming up, the
Mhm.
sick bay kept coming up, which kind of makes sense. Yes, there was traumatic things that would happen in a sick bay, but in an engine room, yeah, there's a lot of just energy that's going to happen there. I'm sure there was a lot of stress on a
Uh,
person that was on a World War II vessel in an engine room. I mean, and just the sheer energy of the number of people that would have been on. I mean, aircraft carriers have literally thousands of people on them, right? I
mhm.
mean, you have the people, you have the airplanes, the actual the power that is
Yeah,
coming from the
yeah.
airplanes. You have the power of the you were talking about the water, but just the power of the ocean or the sea, I
Hmm.
mean, the wind, the rain, the currents. I mean, there is a lot, and you put on top of that being in a battle somewhere, you know, firing off those 16-inch guns or trying to avoid being hit by a kamikaze pilot. I mean, just the amount of adrenaline that would have to run through a ship at times
Right.
would be off the charts. I mean, in the middle of a battle, so I could
Yeah.
just see where, yes, that is a just a cauldron of energy just going on 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Right. And you were talking about the engine room, just I mean, there's so much activity in there, so much,
Hmm.
so many mechanical things and I almost envision like a fire, like throwing coal on a fire, which I know isn't isn't there, but I mean there's always something there that can risk injury or even cause accidents that may result in a death or something that there's so much of that around that area too.
Right.
Um,
And I also was thinking about how much of this I was making fun of the residual stuff earlier, but a lot of the people were not saying, you know I saw one guy say it was a residual thing, but a lot of it I didn't see anybody say anything residual, but at the same time I could think that a lot of this would be residual hauntings. I mean, people, you think about like you and I both came across the sounds of tools, right?
mhm.
Um, and I would think that that would be something that would be residual. That would, somebody is doing the same thing over and over and over in an engine room, right?
Right. And I could
I think.
see that happening in the afterlife because I've had instances when I was young, I used to work in a factory and I would put these metal clips on plastic toaster ends of the toaster little machines. I make
Hmm.
plastic ends and put clips on it so they can put them together. And that was a repetitive motion. And there was times that I would wake up in the middle of the night with my hands up in the air doing those repetitive motions like I was still at work or
Yeah.
something. So, I mean, even in as small of a thing as that would be, I can imagine if you're like doing something on a battleship day after day after day after day, in your afterlife, you're kind of can get stuck in that loop and you're still doing it. So, the poor little guy going to the bathroom all the time. Maybe he was
Yeah.
seasick. Who knows?
Yeah. It would be, and also like you talk about the people that will be going, they see these people going up and down corridors.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure if you were on a ship, you did that, every day, multiple times a day. So,
Right.
you know, I could see that too. So it really did make me think about that as well. And it also made me think about, you know, like the admiral, the one about the admiral's room and his space there,
Hmm.
like, did the admiral, because, that obviously he was the head of that ship, but also the head of, that whole group of ships or what, that whole, you know, he was a powerful
Sweet.
person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it just makes me want, you see that, and that he was that they have those um, things happen in his quarters, his meeting room. That really doesn't surprise me either. That he would still be tied to that.
Right. Because he had to make some big decisions in there
Mm-hmm.
with
Yeah.
stressful things. So, and all that has an energy, and I honestly think you leave a lot of that energy behind, and it's still there.
Yeah. I would totally agree. Well, this was a good topic. I was and I hope that Jesse has enjoyed it because I
Yeah,
enjoyed looking it up. I hope everybody else has enjoyed it as well.
yeah,
So,
fascinating. I like doing
yes.
these little one-off themes.
Yeah.
And one thing, I learn a lot.
Yep. Yep. Well, I really didn't have anything else that I had found, but did you?
Nope, that was it.
All right. Well, I know one other thing we got to do before we get out of here.
We got to thank some sponsors.
We do.
We do. We got to call out Dimensions Radio, which is a very similar show to what we have. You can listen to it on Crossroads Lagrange streaming radio app. We have my bookstore from the Ground Up Books, and soon to be Salt River Current radio station, and which you will be able to listen to our episodes on there on Wednesday nights as well. And then we also have to thank Mystic Bliss Reiki, which is our pal Missy Steyer and her Reiki business.
Yep. Thank you to all those folks. We appreciate it. And check them out. If you're around here, go to Lynn's bookstore. Get hooked up with Missy. She's great.
Mhm.
And listen to Chris and Jamie on Dimensions Radio.
Yeah.
I think you'll enjoy them. Their show's a lot like ours. So
Yeah.
all right, Lynn. I don't think we've got anything else. So
All right. We'll
go
wrap it
home.
up. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone, and keep it weird, y'all.
Thank you for joining us at Weirdos in the Wild. Please show us some love and support on our Patreon account at Weirdos in the Wild. Like us on all of our social media. And if you've had an experience you'd like to share with us, visit our site at weirdosinthewild.com. Until next time, keep it weird, y'all.